Good evening and welcome to The People, the law and governance here on Spectrum Television. Today, this is a program that bridges the gap between the government and the people. And today, we'll take a look at Nigeria's democracy. How far have we come today? If you compare Nigeria today and, of course, what democracy actually really, truly means, would you see Nigeria is truly a democratic country? Have we attained the height we are supposed to? What are we lagging, or what are our successes? Where can you tick right and say truly Nigeria has gone far on this particular? We're joined virtually by Barrister Martins Ukwe. Of course, we'll take a look at Nigeria's democracy. We'll x-ray it together so you too can be part of the conversation. If you call the number or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives, a system of parliamentary democracy. Now, we've had elections in Nigeria, a process whereby Nigeria fixes or restores or puts a person in place to pilot the affairs of the state. We've had the presidential and the National Assembly elections, each of the states that is in Nigeria. If you take a look at the meaning of democracy and you take a look at the elections that are just passed, would you say Nigeria is actually going through the democratic stages of putting in somebody to pilot them, whether voted in by the people? Was that the will of the people? To some extent, the answer would be yes. And to some extent, the answer would be no. Of course, in elections, we expect a winner and we expect losers. Sometimes we find losers who refuse to accept that they lost, and so they keep fighting in order to win. Sometimes we also have leaders who forced themselves there out of the will of the people, maybe bought themselves way to that seat or rigged themselves to that seat. Democratic state, we've passed in this one, we have A in this one, oh, we haven't had or done well in this other one. Those are the things we are looking at today on the program, the law of the people and governance. So we'll be getting to our guest who is on standby and
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now, this service will finally be be recognized.
Come May 17th this year, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather at a hotel and suites for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards. An award, visit www.tnbawards.ng to vote now. They've served and they're still serving. It's time we say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, Bonn.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by grossly and police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
And governance here on Spectrum Television. I'm your host, Rachel David White. Already I told you we'll be taking a look at Nigeria's democracy, Nigeria today, and Barrister Martins Ukwe, a human rights lawyer. Let's take a look at democracy, what it actually means, and would you say Nigeria so far is a democratic state? Where have we gotten it right and where have we not gotten it right? Those are the things we are looking at on today's program. So good evening. Hello, Barrister. All right, so join us via phone call. Where do you think Nigeria has gotten it right? And I also went as far as describing or defining what a democratic state or what democracy actually means. That democracy is a system of democracy. Well, the part that says elected representatives, typically through elected representatives, where we've had the elections, which I explained before now. Would you say that the people, okay, it has to be a system of government that allows the people to choose who represents them, allows the people to make their choices by themselves, not being influenced by anything, by money, by force or anything. It has to be a smooth process where I willingly say, oh, I choose you to become my leader. Nobody has to, electing their leaders by themselves without being influenced by force, by money, or anything. And then at which point would you say, no, Nigeria hasn't gotten it right when it comes to this one? And also a brief one, of course, it's just few days, before the current president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, walks out of his seat. It's just May 29th. And before you know it, we have a new president. A new majority of Nigerians had made their choice in the past election by choosing the All Progressives Congress candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to lead them for another 4 years. But a brief one, let's take a look at, okay? Let's take a look at, would I say scorecard? No, not scorecard. Let's just take a look at the promises, you know, the promises he made in his manifestos and the unofficial ones from his campaign army. We'll have some of them I'll just be looking at today, a brief one. Yeah, he talked about unemployment, and then the unemployment rate and he had in his 2015 manifesto promised to create 3 million jobs per year. He noted 5 main ways it would create jobs if being re-elected. I'm talking about when he came for re-elections, okay, in his 2019 re-election manifesto. One, in the second term, which Buhari called a system in partnership with private sector. And 2, several millions of jobs are to be created through agriculture, including having the Anchor Borrowers Program to support input and jobs to 1 million farmers, livestock transformation plan to create 1.5 million jobs along dairy, beef, hiding jobs. 3, he promised to provide $500 million in funding for the tech and creative industry to create 500,000 jobs. Further jobs would be created with creation of regional industrial parks and special economic zones, and the next level of 109 special production and processing centers. Let me just take the last one before we go back to the democratic thing we were talking about. Talked about, I think he vowed 300,000 extra jobs for vendors and farmers by increasing the number of children fed under the school feeding program from 9.2 million to 15 million. And in 2023, in the nation became worse. As at the fourth quarter of 2020, the unemployment rate, according to the NBS Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, was 33.3% compared to what we had before. So I also want to, you know, merge this a little, come back to dwell on this if time permits today, but if not, we'll have to push it till tomorrow. Let's quickly go back and see if our guest is with us. Hello, good evening, Barrister. Hello, Barrister, good evening. Okay, I think we're having network issues. So back to here. We talked about the, okay, I think he's here. Hello, can you hear me, Barrister? Good evening.
Good evening, Rachel.
Okay, Barrister, add a little bit of the things he had actually touched, or maybe people would say left a bit undone, the issue of unemployment in the country. But let's get back to democracy, okay? So, having elected representatives, okay? So, from your own vision, what would you say, okay? I need a straight definition of democracy before we look at Nigeria and how far we have attained democracy in our country.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start it this way. How I was taught in the JSS, I was taught that democracy is the government of the people,
by the people and for the people.
Yes, that's the cheapest and the simplest definition of democracy, and that meaning was actually given by a one-time president. Looking at democracy etymologically, it started from the ancient Greece. If we go by the literal definition of the word democracy, it talks about people's representation in government. So we have different and diverse definitions of the word democracy. But I'm very sure that we will not be talking about definition of democracy. Rather,
of course, we will not be talking about that. We're just defining it so we have a path, okay? So whatever we are going to discuss today, we link it to that definition.
All right, thank you very much.
But the uninterrupted state of governance since 1999 till date, so do you believe this to be so?
Well, I choose to take a different path of looking at democratic practices in Nigeria.
Okay.
since the return of democracy in 1999. We have had governments at different paradigm shifts since 1999 till today. Starting from 1999, we had President Olusegun Obasanjo, only 2 years in the government house, and that government transited the former President Goodluck Jonathan till now that we are having a retired military general at the helm of affairs, who is at the verge of transiting to yet another democratic government. I wouldn't want to go through rating all these different governments by their performances, but I just want to look at it holistically by saying that we have not really derived the maximum dividends of democracy which we are practicing, which we like to think that a country that practices democracy must be seen not in the weddings, it must be seen in practice. There are basic tenets that shows that that country is practicing democracy. For example, the rule of law. This is a country where you have those in power, those at the helms of affairs, constantly disobeying the rules of law. Rules of law is at the root of democracy. Now, this is a country that a court of competent jurisdiction will give order, and the president will disobey such order flagrantly. And these are the basic tenets of democracy. We do not really have what we call democracy in practice. We only practice democracy in theories. I think the best way we practice democracy, we have not seen any. It is lacking. If I must apply the actions of Mr. President in the past few months, you will see that there is no democracy in this country. Instead, we are practicing autocracy. This is a country where the president stands up one morning and gives decision, and that decision stands. This is a country where the IG of the police has been committed to prison, and nobody could arrest the IG and take him to bow to the order of the court. This is a country where the EFCC chairman has been committed to prison, and this for contempt, and these persons have never submitted themselves to the order of the court. Then where are we talking about the democracy here?
You know, Barrister, one would feel that, from its way is on a democracy. Can you hear me, Barrister?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so that means that that country is on a democratic path.
Okay, the absence of a military democracy as was practiced by the very people who established the word democracy. I mentioned that democracy started in ancient Greece. It was a situation whereby the people go out. Now, it was a system whereby the people have a say through those that they have elected to govern them. It was a system of free and fair process where people were selected and elected on the basis of nature. Do you really think that the sham that happened that happened between February and March that INEC called election, do you really think such a sham could happen in a country whereby democracy is being practiced? We have seen advanced democracies in the world. We have seen countries that are Nigeria is not practicing democracy. Nigeria is only hiding, masquerading in that name, democracy. However, they are practicing something else. Nigeria is at the verge of becoming a failed state. What are the failed states at present? However, I will not say more about Nigeria becoming a failed state. A country where non-state actors begin to take action and such actions are obeyed, that is one of the features of practicing democracy. The answer will certainly be in the negative.
Okay, Barrister,
So
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, even within the tenets of democracy, right? One could argue that our system of governance, it doesn't matter what system we practice, if it's a federal or a parliamentary, okay? And as the case was in the First Republic, if you want to link it to today, or is it actually down to leaders during their jobs or something? Itself, as a federal system, is the major source of our political non-advancement. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your question is it the system of government that we are practicing?
Yeah, I'm asking, does it really matter what system of government we are practicing?
Yes. One, the system of government that is being practiced must work in tandem with the constitution of a country. Now, one of the problems that we are having is that practice in Nigeria. The constitution is a piece of work that was done by the Abdulsalam Abubakar late military junta and handed over to Nigeria. Military masterpiece that still have bearings on military details. Now, our constitution must be autonomous. It must reflect our collective values, our collective aspirations, and the yearning of the citizens. If you look at it very well, but if we keep using that piece of legislation called the constitution, we will continue to wallow in abject poverty. Corruption will take over this country, insecurity, and so many other ills will take values, yearnings, and the aspirations of Nigerians. The problem of Nigeria stems majorly from the constitution. I think I have been saying this, that we need to go back to the era of regionalism. We need to go back to our regions. Everybody are talking about restructuring. I think the constitution does not create room for restructuring, and we are better off if the country is restructured, so that you look at how to lift people from poverty. The institution that we are using. So the system of government and the constitution must be in pari passu. They must come together. They must have a unison. There must be unity between the what we call. Let me take us back to the elections. What we electoral act, they cannot function on its own without the support of the constitution. So you see that the constitution is a grown-up. Any law, whatever the legislators make, becomes null and void. Therefore, you see that the constitution is at the root of our problem. So once a problem is at its root of every system, the problem has to be sorted out from its roots first. So I am telling you that the constitution of Nigeria is a very big problem. It has thrown Nigeria to a state of quagmire where we have found ourselves in that state of hopelessness. Something has to be done about the constitution. Being antagonist with the people's standing, their economic, their political system, the educational system. Okay, let's talk about chapter 2 of the constitution. It gives right to education, but these rights are non-justifiable. These rights are non-justifiable. You cannot see this is a conducive academic and educational atmosphere. The citizen cannot hold the government responsible because the constitution has said that, oh, you have right to education, but this right is non-justifiable. The government cannot be sued under chapter 2 of the constitution. So it is time we begin to restructure our constitution to reflect the yearnings of the people.
And pieces of legislations. And of course, you've talked about our constitution, but considering the fact that we've equally been judged by the conduct of our elections, of course, you have been through and we've talked over and...
You said, how will I rate Nigeria in regard to what?
Conduct of elections. You have to put in mind that we've equally been judged over the years on the strength of our democracy, okay, by the conduct of our elections.
Okay. We are still having the kind of elections that was witnessed on 25th day of February and on the 18th day of March. The working apparatus of the government within Nigerian territory. So we can't afford to have that kind of election in a country called Nigeria, and we are still priding ourselves as the giant of Africa. Rachel, we did not have election. What we had was a political theft. You see people announcing results the way they like. You see a sham called collation. You see what the INEC chairman did. The INEC chairman announced results in the wee hours of a time when Nigerians were in deep sleep. Election, it was a political theft. And I pray that Nigeria should never witness such election in the history of our democracy, because it will spell doom for this country. There was no election. Okay, for example, how possible is it that the same votes allotted to all the candidates in Gombe State were the same number of votes allotted to the same candidate in Bauchi State, to candidates, and announced as they wanted to? This is the most condemnable election in the history of Nigeria. I have never seen an election whereby the winner has been announced and the winning party are now protesting for the candidate to be sworn in, for the president-elect to be sworn in. It has never happened in the history. Olusegun Obasanjo won election under the People's Democratic Party in 1999, and there was no protest for him to be sworn in, despite being a Southerner, despite being from the Yoruba race. Shehu Musa Yara.
Okay,
Jonathan
Barrister, can you hear me? I'm sorry, I have to cut you. I'm just checking our time, and we've gone away a little bit beyond time. We'll have just 3 minutes to end the program. We've within this small period of time been able to point out the things that have made Nigeria. Because one would be asking, you're talking about obeying the court order by politicians. Don't you think that the judicial system has been summoned or influenced by politicians, which I don't even want to go there right now. But
those are just insignificant ones that I've just mentioned.
Okay.
I can go and name them on and on. There are so many things.
Okay, but just because of time, of course, let's try to proffer solutions, okay? Attain that point where we can truly say that, oh, Nigeria is maybe 90 or 98% a democratic state.
First, I have mentioned restructuring. Nigeria needs to be restructured. Then 2, our constitution is not autonomous. Our constitution needs to be autonomous. We must create a constitution, if put into practice. Once the constitution reflects the yearnings of the people, and if Nigeria is restructured, I believe we will gradually, it is not a one-day thing, we will gradually get to where we can comfortably say we are at least practicing, in practice, democracy, at least 70 to 80%.
All right, thank you so much, Barris. Things that we have on our list to talk about. Well, depending or deepening the pillars of democracy, democracy, the way it is practiced in Nigeria today, is a hybrid. It is a combination of civil rule, militarianism, and ethnic bind citizens and the state, and no common aspiration. In the absence of shared national aspiration, democracy is just a word, a concept borrowed to fulfill all righteousness. Well, talking about Nigeria's democracy, and it doesn't just take our leaders, it takes us as a people as well to make Nigeria a democratic state. Join me tomorrow on the Law of the People, leave office and hand over to the president-elect. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Meanwhile, you can follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. My name is Rachel David White. Catch you tomorrow. Good evening.